Now, our After Three guest today has been described as the teenage Pavarotti. He's Jonathan Antoine, who rose to stardom through Britain's Got Talent. He was one half of the unforgettable classical duo Jonathan and Charlotte. His first solo album, Tenore, went straight to #1 in the classical charts and was John Souché's Album of the Week on Classic FM, whatever that is. After a string of performances around the UK, he's now launched his second solo album, or is about to anyway, Believe, in a couple of days' time, and he's our guest today. Hello, Jonathan Antoine.
Hello, hello.
How very nice to meet you.
Oh, no, it's great to be on. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with where we are now. What is the thinking behind this new album?
Well, it's been about 2 years since I've made an album and released it into the world, so I figured it was due time. I've grown a lot, not just in and of myself, but as hopefully as an artist and as a vocalist. I feel like the change is very noticeable, and I've matured a lot in those past 2 years. And
what about choosing the material, though? I was thinking more of that, really.
Yeah, with regards to choosing the material, more often than not, I go out trying to find things that the fans will love, find things that people resonate with, and it was very easy picking the material for this album purely because we had one meeting, we spitballed some ideas, and pretty much every song that was mentioned there ended up on the album.
Gosh!
Yeah.
You think some of these rock bands who take 3 years of experimentation to make an album, and you can choose all the tracks in a couple of hours with a cup of tea. That's very, very impressive.
It's the incredibly lucky thing about having such a wealth of different music that has already been composed.
Yes, yeah. It's got lots of stuff that we know and love. Hallelujah, Ave Maria.
Yeah.
Bring Him Home, which we're going to play in a moment. Which
excellent.
Am I right in thinking you first sang that when you were about 13?
Yeah, 13 or 14.
Yeah.
It was about a third of my life ago now, which is crazy to think of. And
so, how did you come to first sing it?
Oh, well, it was through high school. I started off in my vocal lessons doing sort of stuff like "Where Is Love" from Oliver when I had a really high male voice.
Oh, yes.
But then, yeah, eventually, as my voice broke, me and my teacher at the time, Jenny Ewington, we tried various different songs in different keys to find what was right for me at the time, and eventually we found "Bring Him Home," which was it was perfectly in my range, and I've just never stopped singing it. I've sung it ever since.
It's very interesting because I was a bit of a boy soprano. I'm a lot older than you, and in my day, you were advised not to sing at all once your voice had broken until it had fully settled down, otherwise you might damage it. Maybe it's a bit like they used to say when you had an operation, lie in bed for 2 weeks and don't do anything, and now they say start charging about after half an hour and kind of use your body again, and it'll all be all right. I don't know. You didn't have any layoff? Was there a short layoff period during the really embarrassing bit where you're going up and down like that?
No. Even through my voice being very, very breaky and shuddery, I kept pressing on, and for me that was what made sure that I was able to still sing afterwards. Yeah. Which it's a strange contradiction.
The opposite way of getting to the same result. Yeah. And you mentioned your vocal teacher there at school. It was quite some school then. If they gave did they give you individual lessons in singing?
Yeah, it was an optional kind of thing where a teacher came in and you'd pay. I can't remember how much it was, but yeah, you'd pay a certain amount of money and you'd get lessons. It was good.
That's really very good. Because you're not from a showbiz or musical family, I don't think.
No, I'm kind of an anomaly in that sense.
What sort of family were you from?
A pleasant one.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
No, my father's a police officer. My mother
is.
She's at home basically fixing everything all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was it like at school? The reason I ask that is that kids can be very unkind to anybody who is different in any way. It could be having ginger hair or liking the wrong pop group, or indeed having an outstanding talent like yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, thankfully, any negativity that came towards me wasn't really based on the thing that I love to do, the actions that I took. It was more based on my physicality, which is, that's something that can change through time. Whereas the thing that you really love to do, I'd always been encouraged, frankly, to pursue that, even by sort of peers and school people.
That's good.
I was thoroughly encouraged.
You'll have done this 1,000 times, but just tell us briefly about your Britain's Got Talent journey. How did it start? Were you two already a double act at that point?
No, not. We'd done a couple of things together. We'd done a few functions, but we weren't exactly an act, you could say.
Right.
But yes, Charlotte just she. This was back in when I had a BlackBerry, and she messaged me on the BlackBerry Messenger service, and I said sure, let's do this thing, expecting pretty much nothing of it. And I guess in a sense the rest is history, but
Yeah. Well, it is, although I gather there are stages along the way that we don't get to see on television, so fascinating to hear about some of the bits that we wouldn't be familiar with, if there are indeed such.
a lot of it really was broadcast. There weren't all that many private moments. It was incredibly valuable to me in as much as I got to learn a lot about the way that TV and broadcasting is structured and the way that people work in that kind of environment. That certainly was very valuable to me.
And what was it like? Well, what was it like? A, reaching the final, and B, the other question you'll have been asked 1,000 times, but how can I not ask it? Coming second to a dog.
It was reaching the final, obviously, having never expected to even, go anywhere with it. That was one of the most incredible things.
Yeah.
And with regards to losing to Pudsey, I mean, the money would have been nice. That is something that I can acknowledge with ease. But the reality is that it's, it was all down to chance, really, and down to how people voted. And if people voted that way, then so be it.
Well, there's a long tradition of people not winning talent shows and going on to do awfully well, often better than the person who did win. And sure enough, I mean, Simon picked you up, didn't he? And you and Charlotte had two albums together before you split. Yeah. And how hard a decision was that? Why did you both feel that the time had come to do your separate things?
It had been essentially always in the makings. We'd never, as I said, we hadn't gone into the show as really a duo act.
No.
And obviously in the show I'd stuck with her because that was, we were going there together. But eventually we realised that our paths lay in different directions, and that she was more looking to expand her studying and music theatre, whilst I was looking to expand my more classical operatic range of things.
What are the greatest, or what is the greatest moment you think you've had professionally since BGT? What do you pinch yourself to try and believe you're actually with that person or on that stage?
Oh, that is a tough question.
Yeah.
I mean, every single time I perform, it's a pinch me moment, and realizing that people will actually care and will come out and support me, that is the most incredible feeling of all. But I've done many a crazy thing. There was a performance in America where it was hosted essentially by David Foster, and he was playing alongside various incredible musicians. Adam Levine also was performing on the night, as was Neo, and that was insane to me, to be amongst that kind of person.
Well, listen, it's lovely to meet you today. We've got Bring Him Home lined up from the new album, which is out the day after tomorrow, I think.
Yes, Friday.
We wish you further great success in the future. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Jonathan Antoine on BBC Radio Berkshire, and here he is again.